YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, revisiting the Jalen Ramsey trade rumors. I got 8 different trades here. Updated my most likely landing spots, 8 different landing spots, and updated what the trade actually can look like, the trade details when it's all said and done. So we're going to go from least likely to most likely out of these top landing spots here in just a second. Just take a look at what Josina Anderson said on Twitter. According to her, the teams that for sure have made a call to the Jacksonville Jaguars about Jalen Ramsey. You got the Chiefs, you got the Ravens, you got the Vikings, Raiders, Eagles, and Seahawks. So what do you got there? We got 6 teams there, but I have 8. So I added 2 more that one of them I heard some rumors on, and the other one kind of just threw in here for fun, and I do think they could have some interest in them. So we're going to take a look at these 8 here. Right before we get started, we do have extra content available on our Patreon, patreon.com/thegoathouse. You can get all kinds of extra Goat House content. Link in the description for that. And we do have a subscriber goal of 40K by the end of this year. Please help us out by subscribing. Been getting a lot of subscribers lately, so appreciate you guys very much. We got you covered with NFL content, recaps, power rankings, predictions every single week, and plenty more like these types of videos. Click the like button, turn notifications on. Check us out on Twitter for updates and tweets during live games. The least likely trade out of the 8 best landing spots for Jalen Ramsey for me, but still somewhat likely in terms of the team. But I went there with the actual trade scenario here. I threw Melvin Gordon in there. Why not? Maybe that's a long shot for Melvin Gordon to actually be in here, but I think the Chargers are a solid landing spot. I think they definitely need another outside corner. They have Casey Hayward. Desmond King is more of an inside guy, and they're really lacking in the secondary right now with no Derwin James. So just adding another solid DB there at corner could make the biggest difference. So a first-round pick, which we expect to be late, a fourth-round pick, and Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon doesn't have a tremendous value right now, so that's why he's in there with the first and the fourth. But they do have Leonard Fournette, who I think is a good running back, but I guess really not one of these new school running backs, even though he's younger. He's just kind of in between the tackles guys, so they add another running back. They've been looking for another guy. It's really all they got right now is Fournette. So they could. It's possible. It's more of the team. I think the Chargers are a top 8, the number 8 landing spot. But interesting to see if Melvin Gordon actually could be in there. He seems to be, thinking he will be on a new team very soon, if you've been keeping up with the Melvin Gordon situation too. So that kind of quiet down a little bit because the Jalen Ramsey and Minkah Fitzpatrick, all that. Next team I got is the Raiders, which was one of those teams that Josina mentioned. And why I think, since they were mentioned, since they made a call, they're definitely up here. They're definitely possible. Why they're next on the list and not at the top, because there's still got to be some thought that in that organization, especially Mike Mayock, do we trade for another guy with somewhat of an attitude? Not that he's the same as Antonio Brown, but there is some risk there. Does he want to play with us long term? I mean, he did mention he would like to sign with Vegas when his contract is up in a year from now. But what's the situation going to be like with his attitude if we're right now losing? Because it's not the best season right now. So what did I have as the trade compensation? I actually threw Trayvon Mullen in there, which is not it's not a guarantee either. I think the Jags could be looking for another player, another DB. So it could be a guy like Mullen, who they just drafted actually, and a first-round pick and 2/3. So Mullen has some value to him. Young player, some upside. It hasn't really done much yet. 2 third-round picks, one from both this year, one from the Raiders, one from the Bears in the Khalil Mack deal. And the first-round pick is the Raiders that I included, not the Chicago Bears. So it could be an early pick. So they're not getting a whole bunch there. Well, I guess 4 things. But this could possibly be a earlier pick. The Jags are looking for 2 first-rounders. I don't think they're going to get 2 from the Raiders right now, though. The little bit of leverage that other teams do have is that Jalen Ramsey will leave after next year. He still can help them win this year and next year. That's kind of the leverage that the Jags have. But he's going to leave, and there's really no happiness there between the two. So the Raiders are a team to look out for. I would look out for maybe them trading one of their DBs. I know they just signed LaMarcus Joyner, but I would not rule him out as well. I mean, he can play slot corner or safety, which the Jags can use either one. But on to the next team, a team that really wasn't mentioned in that tweet. I think the Browns, from what I've heard, have some interest. And now their first round pick may not be a late first round pick. It could be, but most likely not. Maybe a mid first round pick. So if that gets thrown in there, they get 2 second rounders, one from this year, one next year, and TJ Carey, another guy that can play in the slot. And why I think the Browns are looking to get Ramsey, well, they're not afraid to get better. One, they know they get better with Jalen Ramsey. And I think they can actually move Denzel Ward to slot corner. They can use Greedy Williams and Jalen Ramsey on the outside. I think Denzel Ward's a little better on the underneath, and I think that's where he belongs, and he can play very well there. And there's a little bit of, right at this moment, some injuries between Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams, but nothing, just minors, just holding on to practice right now, so that came up as well. But Jags get a pretty good haul. They don't get the 2 first-round picks, but they get 2 seconds and a solid DB in TJ Carey, who the Browns will no longer need then. Then the Browns would be pretty much stacked with corners there, so that would be young corners too, so pretty fun to watch. So that's a team to keep an eye on as well. Next on the list is going to be the Baltimore Ravens, and I tried, in most of these, almost all of them, to include a player, just to make things interesting, and I do think it's realistic. Jimmy Smith, who's kind of been on and off the field. The Ravens have been fine without him, and there was some trade rumors earlier, right before the season started, that he could be traded because he's a free agent after this year. So it does look like quite the haul, even with a good corner in Jimmy Smith, but there's a few reasons for that. It's because, like I mentioned, expiring contract. He's also in his 30s, and he also seems to have some minor injuries pop up here and there. Some, one major one in the past. But he is a good corner. He's a darn good corner, really. I like his game a lot. So, he helps the Jags, and they can make a decision on if they want to resign him or not. Maybe you can get him a little cheaper. But they do get a first, a second, and a third, 3 picks from this year that they can use there rather than the 2 first-rounders. I think this is somewhat equivalent to that. But, again, Jimmy Smith is on an expired contract. No guarantee you'll get him back. Maybe you don't want him back. Kind of a trial run. So, not a whole bunch of value in him, but some value because you get a solid cornerback for this year possibly. And then Jalen Ramsey, of course, goes to the Ravens, who I think already you could argue as the best secondary possibly, pairing Jalen Ramsey with Marlon Humphrey. They also have Brandon Carr. Then Averett's a very good depth guy as well, but because of the talent, doesn't see the field a whole bunch. And then the great safeties with Tony Jefferson and Earl Thomas, who they added this year. That's darn good secondary, and it's just scary to think that Jalen Ramsey could be part of it, and the Ravens do have the cap space as well, so they don't really absolutely have to get rid of Jimmy Smith for this to happen, and that's the impressive thing. The Ravens are that good while having the cap space and the future cap space to extend Jalen Ramsey once he's a free agent. We're on to our next team here. We got 4 more left. Next one is, just like the Ravens, a very interesting one. The Minnesota Vikings. At first, I was kind of surprised to see the Vikings in on there that they called, but then after thinking about it, not really. The Vikings usually don't put up with the attitude guys, but then thinking about it, I think Mike Zimmer will take that risk. It's not even a big risk for the best corner in football, arguably first or second with Stephon Gilmore. I think Mike Zimmer takes that risk all day. Zimmer's got to be in Spielman's ear about making this deal. And the Vikings, who are a team that They expect to be picking later in the first round. They are a team to watch out for to give up 2 first-round picks because of that, because they should be, you never know, be picking in the later spots in this year and next year. But I went with a different route because they do have to clear cap. They may have to even clear a little more than this even. They gave up the first this year, 2 seconds there, and then Trey Waynes. So you may think that's kind of a haul. Trey Waynes is a solid starting corner, but he has an expiring contract, and he's not Jimmy Smith. That's why the Jimmy Smith one had a 3rd rounder. The Vikings give up another 2nd rounder. So Trey Waynes not quite as good as a guy like Jimmy Smith, but still pretty young, but expiring contract. How much is that contract going to be worth after this year? So it doesn't have tremendous value, but a lot of picks going there too. But like I said, the Vikings could get up 2 first rounders. But I don't know if they want to do that and include Trey Waynes, but they almost have to with the cap space situation. So maybe it's still a long shot because all those reasons. But I can see Mike Zimmer really pushing this to get done, and then this could easily turn into the best secondary in football if they get Jalen Ramsey with Rhodes, and Rhodes kind of known as one of those guys that locks down the best receiver on each team every week, and I think he'll be guarding the second best then. And they have the incredible safeties over there with Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris as well, and then Jerron Kearse. Kearse actually could be another guy that can be involved, but they really like him, but he has an expiring contract as well, because he can play all over the place, really, anywhere in the DB spot. So the Jaguars could be interested in him as well. So something to look out for here. Could be very interesting. Another reason why the Vikings may not want to trade their not the 2020 first, but next year, 2021 first, because they may need that for a quarterback, because Kirk Cousins' contract will be up by that 2021 draft, and he might not be the answer anyways. And then the other question is, can the Vikings sign Jalen Ramsey long term? They probably can. They're always moving, they're always editing the contracts of current players, extending them and somehow cutting cap in that moment when they have to sign somebody else. So they're good at doing that. But we'll see. There's a lot, I guess, that needs to go into that one, but I can also see Mike Zimmer really wanting to go for that. And there's a serious top three, in my opinion. They're on another level. And first, we'll go with the Eagles. I involved another player here, Sidney Jones, who I liked a lot in the pre-draft process. He was actually my number one corner in that draft class over Marshawn Lattimore until he got hurt in his pro day. Then he dropped below him. I loved his tape. And he hasn't really lived up to the hype yet, but I still think he has potential. I think the injury really set him back. Unfortunate. So he has a little bit of value, but you see the similar trade we just shown with the Vikings. A first, 2 seconds, and then Sidney Jones. Or I think the Eagles are a strong candidate for 2 first-round picks. I did this video like pretty much a few days ago, and that's kind of what I had the Eagles. I think the Eagles could go with 2 first-round picks, one this year and then one next year. Very realistic. I think they're a top team to look out for. They definitely need another corner. They got a long list of guys that can play the DB spot. Like, they have depth, I should say. But they just don't have – they have some guys that are struggling right now, struggled last year too. They're I guess inconsistent. At times you know their name because they play good at times, but they'll be getting beat sometimes. It's pretty much the only big-time player back there is Malcolm Jenkins, and he's really not the same as he was maybe 2 years ago, but he's still very good. Next, I got the Seattle Seahawks, and the Seattle Seahawks can offer something very, very good here. They could go, another team that could go a first this year and next year. I think the Eagles are a little more likely, if I had to pick one, to do that, but they can do something like this. They can give 3 picks up in just this draft because they have 2 second-round picks. All these picks will probably be later in those rounds, but they do have that. They have one from the Chiefs. So 3 picks all this year. The Jags pretty much, what I do is I think they retool on offense. All that is used for offense because we've seen even last week against the Texans a good offense. They played just fine with having some guys out too. And I think they're just well coached on defense, and they can trust their guys, and they trust that Telvin Smith will be back. They can use another corner, but I'm sure they can find one. They can use another DB. But I think they really want to just load up that offense with those draft picks, and that's why it'll be appealing. I think it could be a turnaround just like that with a trade just like that right there. You lose maybe the best corner in football, but I think really giving Nick Foles those weapons, give him that receiver, get him another offensive lineman. It could be 2 receivers. You see how stacked this receiver class is coming up too? These are legit receivers, safe receivers, non-bust receivers. Today's NFL receivers, it really, just like that, you can turn around an offense. And you have Nick Foles in there. And then maybe you can use some of these picks to trade up to get an even safer or better receiver prospect, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, T. Higgins, guys like that. Maybe they want multiple of them. So that's why load up on the picks for this year. You turn around the offense just like that, and you'll have a solid defense. Maybe it'll be a step under because no Jalen Ramsey, but you'll still have a solid defense, but it's an offensive league. So that's why this would be smart. They are looking for 2 first, though, but this isn't too far off of it. And I think the most likely, it's tough to choose one, a specific one, and we kind of just talked about them. But I think the Chiefs are a team to definitely offer the 2 first-round picks that they're looking for. A first this year, a first next year. Why? Because the Chiefs know they are going to be picking very late. It's going to be they got to be out of their mind if there's even a slight thought that they won't be picking the last 4 picks in the first round for the next several years. They have to be confident, and they are, and they know they'll be picking late. So those are potentially very, very late picks, and even later adding Jalen Ramsey. They pretty much have everything for the future except for cornerbacks. And really, when you add one like this, it's a complete lockdown guy and possibly the best in football. It makes the rest of them better, and it turns into not having any more holes. That's all they need to be a Super Bowl team. So I think they can go and do it. If it comes down to it and the Jags are demanding even a little more than this, I think the Chiefs are the team that will do more. And maybe the Jags will demand more than this from specifically the Chiefs, because this team is, like I mentioned, it's already a legit Super Bowl contender because they have the best player in football at the most important position. But they are a powerhouse team, and it's in the AFC with the Jags, so that could scare them. So I don't know if they'll refuse to trade to him because they're just trying to get rid of him, I think, maybe at this point, but they could demand a little more. And if I were the Chiefs, I would probably do it. I'm not a huge fan of Ramsey's attitude, but getting him in there with this team, I would do it. If I'm in that front office, I might be giving up more than I am giving up more than this. I really do. But they're saying 2 first-rounders. If I'm the Chiefs, I'm not hesitating to offer this because, to me, these are like I said, it's a pick 30, 31, 32. If you get Jalen Ramsey, it's got to be if you make it to the Super Bowl, you're winning the Super Bowl. There's no NFC teams that's beating the Chiefs, especially with Jalen Ramsey. As long as they're healthy, there's no NFC team, in my opinion, that are going to beat the Chiefs. So it's really beating the Patriots. So if I'm the Chiefs, I'd do it. I'm just strongly at that position. I think other teams should do it too. I think the Eagles should do it. I worry about giving up 2 first-round picks. There's still other spots of this team where people are convinced it's like complete, but to me, it's really not, mainly looking at the injury. There's a lot of injury concerned players, and you do need another guy like this. But the Eagles, I consider it, but I would not give up as much as I would if I was the Chiefs. The same with the Seahawks. I don't know if I would actually do the 2 first because you don't know what you're going to get from the Seahawks. Seeing them up and down, I want to see them stay a little more consistent. I did predict them to go to the NFC Championship. Still think they can get there, so possible. The Vikings the Vikings secondary would be just one of the best we've ever seen with Jalen Ramsey. Same with the Ravens. But the problem with the Ravens, adding another corner doesn't make them a lot better. Adding another corner, it makes them better getting Jalen Ramsey, but doesn't make them a whole bunch better. I think they need pass rushers. So that could be a failed opportunity of what you can add that you need in the draft. So I think if I was the Ravens, that's a team I would offer something, obviously, but not a whole bunch. I think the teams if I like the Vikings, but the problem is the quarterback. You have one need, and it might be quarterback of the future. Do you want to save your pick so you can be able to move around to come up in that 21 draft to get your quarterback? Because they have a championship roster elsewhere, but they don't want to have a rookie quarterback come in there and have to teach them. So you have to find those once-in-a-generation guys, and then Trevor Lawrence could be that guy, but they're going to have to trade away everything, and they're going to need their picks. So that's why it's tough with them. But the Chiefs make the most sense to me. And then, like I said, the Eagles and the Seahawks, and then probably the Vikings fourth. But the Chiefs make so much sense for all the reasons I explained. If I'm them, I would offer more than this. If the trade happens, which I expect to do, we will break it down in grade, and I will give all my thoughts. And I can't wait for a deal like this to go down. It's very exciting. I just wish whatever team he goes to, his attitude is okay, because that's why I worry about a team like the Raiders or a team that's not going to win right now. I worry a little bit, but that's going to do it. I'm sure we'll be revisiting more Jalen Ramsey news or any other trade news. We have predictions, recaps, power rankings, plenty more every single week covering the NFL. So hopefully you can join us. Hopefully you can subscribe. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.